Hello everyone, good evening.
How's it going?
We hope you guys are all well. And we're back with a lesson today. Now it's our second semester, we're on our third lesson. We hope you guys are all doing well. And we're just going to carry on as usual. And once we finish our second semester, we've got about 7 more lessons. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we have 7 more lessons. And once we're done with the second semester, we're going to jump onto a really special semester, the third semester, where we're all going to start interacting. So, but until then, let's nail these lessons. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. We'll do our best to nail those questions. In fact, are there any questions right now?
As of right now, nope. Our chat box is empty. Just a bunch of everyone saying hello.
Okay, you know what? Why don't
wait a minute. We do have one special question from our good friend Enoch.
Yeah.
Before creation, what was the Creator doing for a living?
Oh, I guess he was just in perfection chilling out, right? So he must have gotten bored and probably thought, better create something before I die of boredom. So, which actually brings us to our topic as well. So that's a really nice question. And what are we going to do with our lives? Now, in our previous semester, we talked about the purpose of creation and how we were all created in perfection, and how we had to actually distance ourselves with the aid of that Creator that we just spoke about, and found ourselves in this world away from that perfection, away from the feeling of perfection. And now we are kind of like a bunch of insects crawling around the planet, right? Just like, you know, people walk around and step on insects, life also steps on us, doesn't it? So in life, what do we have? We have good days and bad days. Is anyone having a bad day today? You're having a bad day. Okay, no, some of you are having a bad day. Some of you are having a good day. Okay, and that's fine, because in fact, you know what? If we didn't have a bad day, you never appreciate a good day. So if you don't have a bad day, you never really know what a good day is. So what we need in life, in order to make all these discernments in our spiritual development as well, is to have 2 opposites of everything, which you guys already know from the perception of reality. But today I want to talk about that specific topic in a little bit more detail. Why do we have bad days in life? And why are they also necessary for growth? Now, when we talk about having a bad day, everybody, goes into a little bit of a, oh no, what's going to happen? Like a bit of a trauma. However, though, all of these things in life, they're actually not negative at all. In Kabbalah, we sometimes call these situations, like having a bad day, a descent. However, in life, there is no such thing as a descent. In fact, if we could see everything and why everything was happening from the perspective of the Creator, we would realize that there was nothing wrong at all in everything that was happening on the planet. However, because we're in a desire to receive, we're in a will to receive pleasure all the time, we feel that pleasure is very important for us. We want to be fulfilled all the time. So when we're not fulfilled, we're a little ticked off, we're a little agitated, we get upset and have a traumatic state. But all of these are necessary, because when we're going through these ups and downs in life, we actually can now generate discernments. We can actually start to become wiser. And exactly so in our spiritual development as well. Just like a baby has to fall before learning how to walk, just like a baby has to crawl first before even attempting to walk, in our spiritual development as well, what we need are these waves that we need to surf on, and we need to go up and down with those waves in order to discover certain traits and certain details in our nature. Because the wisdom of Kabbalah is talking about our nature, which we have absolutely no idea about. This is why we get so much suffering in life, because we don't really know why suffering happens. And the reason for that is we don't understand our nature and how it works. And we don't understand the nature of the Creator and how that works, how general nature works, we don't know. So because of these 2 opposing natures, these opposing poles, we're always finding ourselves in dilemma, confusion, lack of fulfillment. Even if everything is great in life, what normally happens is we just have this lack of fulfillment. And lack of fulfillment is no different actually than being sad and miserable. Why? Because if our nature is always thriving to be happy and fulfilled, a state of being neutral, not being happy or not being fulfilled, let's say, is also a bad state because it's not fulfilling what we want to fulfill. So nevertheless, in life, there's a reason for all the bad that happens and such. There's a reason for all the dissents, no bads, okay? There's no bads in spirituality. There's a reason for all the dissents that a person might feel. However, though, everything that happens to us in life teaches us something. Without the hardships of life, we wouldn't learn anything. We'd be like little kids. Imagine a child. Imagine you're really, really rich, right? And you have a kid, and you bought him everything, you gave him everything, and you hired servants for your child so that they did everything for the kid. And the kid didn't have to do anything in life. How would that be? You would have created an absolute moron, because that's what he would have turned into, an idiot. He would not have been able to do anything by himself. So would that have been a good thing? Very bad thing. So in fact, the best way to raise kids is to make sure they always have, according to their nature obviously, you don't want to overburden them, but that they always have some kind of dilemma to solve, because if they don't have a problem, this thing here in between our ears does not start to function. Because if I have a dilemma, immediately our nature wants to get rid of it. And in order to get rid of it, what do I have to do? To start thinking, don't I? So that's why in spirituality also, for us to advance, the spiritual study needs to give us these little dilemmas. Needs to leave us a little bit in the smoke, like in the misty, like in a misty weather, like it's all foggy. Okay?
Should it confuse us to an extent?
Exactly. Confusion, not knowing which way we're going. Which is also not new to us, because in life we generally don't know where the hell we're going either. It's like in life, all of a sudden you walk down this path and you don't know how you ended up there after years, and you think all of a sudden, how did I end up being an accountant? It's like, how did I do that? Because it just, you enter this flow and it just goes. So just like in life, we're in this confusion, not always knowing where the ice is thin, and we sometimes step on that thin part of the ice and our feet get cold a little bit. In spirituality also, we have these ups and downs, right? Ups and downs in spirituality. And today, that's our topic and how we're going to relate to that. Now, before we move forward, we're going to read something so we can develop this topic of ups and downs, ascents and descents around our spiritual work. In order for us to do that, we're going to read from a book called Shamar Tea, which you guys know about. I'm not going to read the whole book because we don't have all that time, but I have prepared for us a little excerpt. So we're going to read that. And then once we read that, so make sure you're with me, right? Because this is one topic we must nail and we need to understand clearly, so that when we're in the spiritual process, we don't get lost. Because sometimes when people go into a spiritual study, they think they need to fly on the clouds somewhere. I don't know where that perception comes from, okay? Because sometimes people go into spiritual teachings and they feel like they need to be in this hysteria, in this nice, floating peace kind of thing, all right? But that's not right. Why isn't that right? Because that's not life, is it? Spirituality means I'm not sitting there somewhere up on the clouds in this tranquility, but it means I am so immersed in everything that I understand, perceive, and know everything. So we never. This is why in Kabbalah we never kind of we never get isolated and we never take ourselves away from society. We never go into we don't go into a retreat and live up on the mountaintop like monks or whatever. We're always in society because creation, all of it is together with everybody in it, and we need to be like in there and feeling everything that's in there. So we're fully conscious about everything that's going on. So let's start reading a little bit. And then, stay with me. No Facebook, no Twitters, no nothing, okay?
And everybody, please remember, make sure that your microphone is on mute, just to be courteous to the other friends. Please double check and make sure that all your mics are on mute.
Okay, great. So all phones are off. Let's read together and ask as many questions as you can about this topic. So, Shamar Tea, number 19. What is the Creator hates the bodies in the work? The Holy Zohar says the Creator hates the bodies. He said that we should interpret it as referring to the will to receive called guf, body. The Creator created His world, His glory, as it is written, everyone that is called by my name, and whom I have created for my glory, I have formed him, ye I have made him. Therefore, this contradicts the body's argument that everything is for it, meaning only for its own benefit, while the Creator says the opposite, that everything should be for the Creator. Hence, our sages said that the Creator said, he and I cannot dwell in the same abode. It follows that the primary separator from being adhesive with the Creator is the will to receive. It is apparent when the evil comes, meaning the will to receive comes and asks, why do you want to work for the Creator? We think that it speaks as humans do, that it wants to understand with its intellect. Yet this is not the truth, since it does not ask for whom one is working. This is certainly a rational argument, as this argument awakens in one with a rationale. Instead, the argument of the wicked is a physical question. That is, it asks, what mean you by this service? In other words, which profit will you have for the exertion you are making? It means that it asks, if you're not working for yourself, what will the body, called the evil, to receive for oneself, get out of it? Since this is a bodily argument, the only reply is a bodily reply. He blunted its teeth, and had he not been there, he would not have been redeemed. Why? Because the will to receive for itself has no redemption, even at the time of redemption. This is because the matter of redemption will be when all the profits enter the vessels of bestowal and not the vessels of reception. The will to receive for itself must always remain in deficit, since filling the will to receive is actual death. The reason is, as we have said above, that creation was primarily for His glory, and this is an answer to what is written, that His wish to do good to His creatures and not for Himself. The interpretation will be that the essence creation is to reveal to all that the purpose of creation is to do good to His creatures. This is specifically when one says that He was born to honor the Creator. At that time, in these vessels, the purpose of creation appears, which is to do good to His creatures. Right then. It's a bit of a difficult article, right? Because it was written in 1943. However, although I read it once, let's just go over it paragraph by paragraph, okay? So if you didn't understand anything, that's okay, because I haven't either. But today, what we're going to do is understand it together. All right? The best way to understand anything is we work on it together. So let's go paragraph by paragraph. What is the Creator hates? The bodies in the work. The Holy Zohar says the Creator hates the bodies. He said that we should interpret it as referring to the will to receive called guf, body. So the Creator actually created the will to receive, and it's shocking to hear from a Kabbalist that he actually hates what he created. However, when we're talking about the will to receive, we're not just talking about a will to receive. We're talking about a will to receive with an intention for self-fulfillment. Okay? So, Shmuel, thank you. Intention for self-fulfillment. Okay, this is the desire to receive. This is what the Creator created. And the intention for self-fulfillment, when the desire to receive works with an intention for self-fulfillment, that state is what the Creator dislikes. All right, normally we would be thinking, wow, the word hate is a bit of a dramatic word, isn't it? Why would the Creator hate? We always say He's so loving and caring. All of a sudden, to associate the Creator with the word hate seems a little unreasonable in spirituality. But Kabbalists are very pragmatic guys, all right? They're not really fussed about being all coochie-moochie and using nice words. They like to talk straightforward. Well, they're straightforward guys. So they're saying the Creator hates the way we use our desire to receive. Okay, and let's see why He hates that. This is also called a guf. Guf means body, but by now you know we're never talking about the body as in this meat and bones. The body means a desire to receive. And if it works in an egoistic way, it's a desire to receive for myself. And that's called the body and the intention. Guf and intention. So the Creator created His world in His glory. As it is written, everyone that is called by my name, and whom I have created for my glory, I have formed him, I have made him. So the Creator actually made the desire to receive. And apparently He made this for His glory. So we need to understand what they're talking about. Therefore, this contradicts the body's argument that everything is for it, meaning only for its own benefit, while the Creator says the opposite, that everything should be for the Creator. Hence, our sages said that the Creator said, He and I cannot dwell in the same abode. So this means straightforward, very simply this. The Creator created the desire to receive, and He wants to fulfill it with pleasure. Just like we want to give our kids pleasure. However, the Creator does not want us to fulfill ourselves in an egoistic nature. And that's the difficult thing to understand, because the purpose of creation is to be happy and fulfilled. So why doesn't He just fulfill us and get it over and done with? Why is He giving us so much dramas? Well, the drama is that when we're using this desire to receive for ourselves in an egoistic way, it causes harm. So the Creator says, I want you guys to be happy. I want to fulfill you all the way, but I want you to do it in such a way that you are just like me and not lesser than me. Because the Creator is bestowal, as we learned before. And bestowal means perfection, because if I'm giving, it means I'm not lacking anything. So if I don't lack anything, it means I'm in perfection. So if we are lacking something, we're lacking perfection. So if I want to receive something, it means I'm imperfect. So the Creator has a dilemma here, and it's a big dilemma. How can you create a created being which you want to give fulfillment and pleasure to, and on the same time not make him feel bad by receiving from you? It's a big problem, isn't it? So the Creator has to create this theater, this scenario called our world. And this is actually what our world is all about. With all the theatrical dramas that we're going through, this is actually what our world is, a drama scene. So let's see what we have to do in order to get out of this dilemma ourselves. It follows that the primary separator from being adhesive with the Creator is the will to receive. So what's keeping us away from the Creator is the will to receive pleasure, for ourselves. Okay? In the article it's not clear, but intention for self-fulfillment. This is what's keeping us away from the Creator, not the desire to receive itself. This is our problem, our egoistic nature. Okay, the way we use our desire to receive, if it's egoistic, it keeps us away from the Creator. So our problem is using our desire to receive egoistically. Egoistic nature. That's what's keeping us away from the Creator. Right then. So, if we're in such a nature, it is apparent when the evil comes, meaning the will to receive comes and asks, why do you want to work for the Creator? So, Rabash is telling us, listen, Baal Islam, sorry, he's telling us, listen, when you want to advance in spirituality, your nature, your egoistic desire to receive is going to come to you, and he's going to say, why you want to do this? What are you working for? Why do you want to bestow to others then? Why don't you get from others? Okay, this is a question that will come up to us. So by writing this in an article, he's already giving us what? He's already giving us a heads up, saying, guys, when you advance in spirituality, your nature is going to pop up. Okay, and he's going to start asking, what are you doing with these people? Come on, we have a whole world in front of us. Our whole life is in front of us. Why don't we go and have some fun? Why are you sticking out with these guys trying to get into bestowal? Our nature is going to start asking these kind of questions. And we should be aware of it. That's why he's writing it. We think that it speaks as humans do, that it wants to understand with its intellect. Yet this is not the truth, since it does not ask for whom one is working. This is certainly a rational argument, as the argument awakens in one with a rationale. So our rational intellectual mind, as we advance in spirituality, as we work, will ask us, why are you doing this for? Really, seriously? Okay? Don't you have anything else to do better in life? It's going to be me talking with me, asking myself why I'm doing this. All right? Instead, and it's very rational as well, because why? You're going to think about it. Just for a moment, think about it. Our nature wants to get in life. And we're going to study a method that wants to give. It's completely against our nature. So what are we going to do instinctively? Immediately our nature is going to just, start going on strike. It's going to bring out the, the banners and say, I'm not working. Why? Because it's like, where's the salary? What am I getting from this? So it's a rational argument that our intellect is going to put forth for us. Instead, the argument of the wicked is a physical question. That is, it asks, what mean you by this service? In other words, which profit will you have for the exertion you're making? Because in life, when we make an exertion, what do we want to do? We want to make some profit out of it, don't we? We want to get something intellectually, financially, in a good feeling. We want to get something, and we want to make sure it's in our grasp, so that for the effort we made, we have some compensation. So our will to receive is going to ask us that question. And what do we have to do? Since this is a bodily argument, it's a corporeal argument, it's an argument that belongs to this world, the only reply is a bodily reply. He blunted its teeth, and had he not been there, he would not have been redeemed. So what do we have to do? He's telling us what we should do when our intellect argues with us about what are we doing here with these people trying to bestow. I mean, it's like kids in a kindergarten, right? Well, it says it's very simple. The only way you can talk to your body is in a language that it understands. Have you guys ever talked to yourselves and then inside, did you guys say to yourselves, oh God, shut up, that is so silly? Yes? Nobody talks to themselves in their minds?
I do it every day.
Come on, now tell me I'm not the only mad person here.
No, I'm
Huh? You're? Okay, we're both crazy.
every
then.
day.
Okay, good. Because inside we have that, don't we? Sometimes we do foolish things and then we say, God, why did I do that? Silly me, right? So Baha'u'llah says, listen, when your intellect comes up to you and says, why are you doing such ridiculous work trying to bestow when you should be receiving everything from life? There's only one thing you can do. You could just look at it and say, oh, just shut up, would you? Because there's nothing else you can really do. It's a just complaint. It's a rational complaint. And there's not much you can do. So he says, blunted its teeth. In other words, gave it a punch in the mouth. And had he not been there, he would not have been redeemed. Why? Because the will to receive for itself has no redemption, even at the time of redemption. This is very important to understand. We are not destroying in spirituality our egoistic will to receive. Sometimes we talk as if we want to kill our ego, we want to destroy our egoistic will to receive. However, that would be too kind, wouldn't it? Getting rid of it. No, what we want to do in spirituality is to be aware that there's an egoistic will to receive. If I can, okay, egoistic will to receive, will to receive. We want to be aware that we have an egoistic will to receive, but in spirituality what we want to do, we want to put a screen on top of that. And not use it. Why don't we want to kill it? Because if you kill it, you can never be in between two opposite discernments, and you'll never understand anything about the Creator. In order to understand the whole of creation, I have to know the plus and the minus. So if we delete the minus, what are we going to have in reality? Pretty much nothing. So the Creator wants to be, the Creator is really smart actually, the way he planned this all out, I must say so myself. So the way he done it is, listen, he creates this desire to receive in an egoistic way, which is all negative, okay? Completely horrific. However, in order to discover perfection, in order to discover the beauty of everything, the oppositeness you need to build. And that's the positivity which we need to build with our spiritual work, which is right here. So imagine that. The Creator built the negative, and he's saying, listen, why don't you build perfection and do it all by yourself and earn your freedom? Isn't that great? So sometimes people ask, what do we get from spirituality? Well, for one thing, you get your freedom back. Second of all, you build a whole new reality on your own, with your own effort. What does that give you? Well, for one thing, it gives you, just like the independence you have in this world, it gives you the sensation of, I got this done myself. What kind of a feeling is that in spirituality? In spirituality, it's the kind of feeling that you don't owe the Creator nothing. And that's called freedom. When you don't owe the Creator nothing. Otherwise, if you felt like you owed Him something, if you felt like you wanted something from Him, you could never be equal to Him. So we have to build our equality. Otherwise, it's always like a man and his best friend. Has anyone got pets? Right? It's like having pets. Okay, I feed the pet all the time. So you feed it all the time. So the pet is actually obliged to you now, because at the back of its head, even though your pet loves you, wiggles its tail around or whatever, at the back of his head, he always knows This is where I get the food. So he's always feeling, on the one hand, at the end of a leash. It's animalistically, it's like that too. Animals have that feeling. So the Creator doesn't want us to feel that. He doesn't want us to feel like we're a donkey and there's somebody sitting on top of us and he's dangling the carrot and we're going forward. He doesn't want us to feel that. He wants us to feel completely independent, one-on-one, in a perfectly equal relationship. Now you can understand why all these, all the time, sometimes people pray a lot, like in religions, doesn't really work. You can now understand why it doesn't work. Right? For thousands of years, everybody's been praying, and the world's situation is obviously not getting better. Why? Because you just want to get from the Creator. So the Creator thinks, come on, grow up. What's the matter with you? It's like having a 40-year-old kid still living with you at home, and you have to give him pocket money. Imagine that. Anybody got kids like that? If you do, don't take any offense. Okay, just giving an example. Okay, so don't get offended. It's just an example.
But you might want to cut back on the pocket money.
All right. Okay, but do you understand what I mean? So it creates a dilemma, because on the one hand, you're the parent. On the other thing, you feel like you think, God, wouldn't it be great if he got out there and had his own job and was taking care of himself? Wouldn't that be great for him? And he's like not there. He's just like not going there. It's like, I'll just stick around with mom, And so the Creator doesn't want us like that. This is also in nature why, as we grow up, in nature we feel like we need to get away from home. This instinctively we need to feel like we need to get out of here. Because as we grow up, this is why, all of a sudden you begin to, look at life differently from your parents. You feel like you need to be independent. You want to be independent. You want to have your own life. And that's exactly the same sensation we have here. So the Creator gives us that. So he's saying, listen, you know what? You go for it. You build this world. And that's the spirituality we need to build on top of this egoistic will to receive. All right? Now, in order to build that, the first obstacle we're going to have to overcome is that question, isn't it? This intellectual question. So the arguments. So we need to understand that our intellect will argue with us. Will argue with us simply because we are working against our nature. And we must understand that this argument is going to come. So we need to be prepared. What else does he say? The will to receive for itself must always remain in deficit. In other words, he's saying this thing must never be fulfilled. Okay, this must never be fulfilled. Oh my goodness, that doesn't sound great. The will to receive itself must always remain in deficit, since filling the will to receive is actual death. The reason is, as we have said above, that certain was primarily for his glory, that creation was primarily for his glory, and this is an answer to what is written, that his wish is to do good to his creatures and not for himself. So the creation was primarily for his glory. That means, obviously, the Creator is not glorifying himself. The purpose of creation was that the created being would attain his glory, his height of perfection. The texts, when you look at the texts written like ages ago, I mean, this is relatively new, but if you look at the, like real Kabbalistic texts, like few hundred or few thousand years ago, you'd think that the Creator was really egoistic. It's like we have to do everything like for him. Okay? So it feels like as if the Creator is egoist and we're like, innocent guys here who just got created out of no choice and having to do this work. However, this is not really the case, because we have a misunderstanding about the Creator. The purpose of creation is for his glory, means that us have to reach his perfection. That's why we have to say we have to go to heaven. We have to get to his level, or we have to get to his degree. What does heaven mean, actually? Heaven means the state of being like the Creator. Other than that, there is no heaven. Sometimes people think when we die, we're going to go somewhere. We're not going anywhere when we die. The only place where we can go is while we live here, and we build spirituality while we live here, right? And attain that perfection while we live here. So we need to go to perfection from our world here. Let's say we're here now. Who's with us today? Give me a name, any name.
We've got Remy.
Remy. So Remy's here, right? But Remy has a dot in the heart with him, right? Now the dot in the heart, as you know, is a part of the Creator that he gave to us. So what we need to do from this little dot in the heart, okay, we need to go in the ladder of spirituality and attain perfection on our own, with our own work, with our own effort. And this place is called heaven. Right? This place is called heaven. So attaining that situation, that perfection, is called heaven. In religious books, they give a nice painting about it, you know, oh, it's God and everything looks honky-dory and everything like that. However, that's, you know, it's a bit of an imagination. I don't know.
With the big mansions and the floors made of gold?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It's someone's big imagination. What we need to do is, heaven means attainment of the Creator. Attainment of the thought of Creator, actually. The thought of the Creator. All right. And that's what we need to do with this dot in the heart. And that is what we're created for. His glory means being up here with him in his state of perfection. That's our job. Right then, what else have I got to do today? So the interpretation will be that the essence, creation, is to reveal to all. The purpose of creation is to do good to his creatures. And this is called doing good to the creatures. So if you're asking yourself, well, what is the Creator, what is God doing good to me? Doing good to us means that he wants to bring us to his level of perfection, his completeness. That's doing good to a person. Doing good to a person is not giving them money or giving them everything they want, because like the example I gave earlier, you just make a stupid child out of your child. If you give them everything, the kid just turns into an idiot. It's really interesting to see. You can see a lot of examples like that in life. And he becomes absolutely incompetent. So when he grows up and the parents are no longer there, he's just lost, okay? Because doesn't know how to take care of life. So the Creator wants to ensure that all of us know how to take care of ourselves exactly like the Creator. Now, egoistic way to fulfill ourselves is called death. Right? Did anyone have dinner tonight? Did you guys eat already? Yes, you did. Did anybody eat a little bit too much? Yeah, because sometimes when you fill your belly up too much, doesn't it feel like death? It's like on the couch like that. Yeah? It does, right? You get, I mean, sometimes like, you order a takeaway pizza and you know, it's a big one, and then you're on the couch. You just look at the ceiling or at the telly, and it's like, you know, that's death. It's true. You fill yourself up too much. That's it. It's exactly how it is in this world. It's funny, isn't it?
I'm just imagining a pizza right now.
Yeah? Well, you're already like taking off a few pounds, mate.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying. I'm working on my girlish figure.
There you go. All right. Okay, so this is actually what it's talking. In our life, we can feel that as well. Too much of a good thing is bad for you. right? So just like in this world, spirituality has the same concepts, and we just need to get our heads around to what is a good way to fulfill ourselves. And the best way to fulfill ourselves is to actually be like the Creator, so that we can actually do all the fulfilling with our own ability, without having to receive anything from the Creator, or having to receive everything from the Creator, but only because He wants to bestow and not because I want to take. And that's called the intention to bestow. When I take things from the Creator only because He wants to give. Guess who's in control? We're in control. Because if the Creator's nature is to bestow, and He wants to bestow, which He wants to do, right? He wants to 100% bestow. Nothing else He wants other than to give us fulfillment. 100%. That's the Creator for you. 100% love. Okay? If I have also an intention to bestow to the Creator, if I want to reciprocate that bestowal, then I can be just like Him. And then it's you with that desire to bestow, the intention to bestow, it's you who has the control of the game. And this is why all we need to do is change one thing in our nature, and that's the intention. From an egoistic intention to an intention to bestow. This is the only change we need to make in life. The will to receive pleasure remains the same. And what are we getting pleasure from in spirituality? Because we're supposed to get pleasure, right? How many of you are in love? Anybody in love? Nobody's in love. That is nuts. You guys get a life or something. Come on. Come on, all the losers are here tonight. What's going on?
The Losers Club, you know.
All right, no wonder nobody's got anything else to do on a Tuesday night. All right. So what happens is this. What are we going to do? So how to get fulfillment and pleasure from spirituality. If you have ever been in love then, okay, and hopefully there will be in front of you a beautiful, great love. When you love someone so much, the greatest happiness is feeling their happiness. All right? Not feeling your own happiness, because that's not called love, right? When you love someone, you do things for them. It's like you bestow to them only to see that lovely smile come back to their face, and that makes your day. All right? That's called love. Why? Because you're thinking about the other person. You're not thinking about what you want to get from that person to fulfill yourself and make you happy. That's not love. That's called self-love. And in our world, unfortunately, we have self-love, right? So this is why sometimes we tell people, I love you. And then after a week, we say, I don't love you anymore. And then the person is all of a sudden baffled. Well, what happened in a week? Nobody knows. I don't know, and he or she doesn't know either. So it's all a big mess, all right? But the reason is because we want to receive. We're not fully satisfied. On day one or day two, we were satisfied. But as time went on, I saw certain things in, let's say, in her nature, or in his nature, or whatever, and that made you feel like, you know, this person may be not right for me. Right? Why? Because in your desire to receive, you felt like there was some, you know, incompatibility and stuff. All right. So in our world, love is self-reception. It's like loving chocolate. So tell me somebody loves chocolate, right? Anybody love chocolate? All right. I love chocolate, and I would kill for chocolate ice cream. Now, in our world, love is pretty much like loving chocolate. We don't love the chocolate. We love the taste of chocolate. And that's a big difference. So in our world, love is all around, if I get a good fulfillment, I say, I love you. But if tomorrow you do something that I don't like, I come up to you and say, I don't love you. Sorry. Okay? And in spirituality, that's not love at all. Okay? Because loving means it needs to be for the other person. So the Creator here is the situation when we change that nature of ours, is that we want to give the Creator happiness because He wants to fulfill us. He wants to make us happy. And we'd like to reciprocate His happiness. And that mutual connection right in there is called the love between the created being and the Creator. So that lovely connection we build with the Creator right in between there, where He wants to give and I want to receive just because He wants to give, because we love each other. And that's called love in spirituality. I'm only doing it because I love the other person and it's all good. And in that sense, I don't care what I receive. What I receive doesn't bother me. The connection between us is what matters. Doesn't matter what I get. The important thing here is the connection. So you can buy your loved one something really amazing, and the next day you can just put a note in her pocket and say, in the little note, say, I love you, honey. And all of a sudden she's at work, puts her hand in her pocket and finds this note and says, oh, I love you, honey. And all of a sudden she's got a big smile on her face. From the smallest thing to the biggest thing, it's not about what you're getting, but it's about the sensation of love you're passing to the other person. And when that's a mutual pass through, that's called love. Right? It doesn't sound too hard, right? Yes? Nobody looks happy about this situation. Okay. All right. We'll still work on reception for a while then. Okay. But this is called love. All right. So it doesn't matter what we get from the Creator. Now, how's this all working into ups and downs, like I said in the beginning of the lesson? Because at the beginning of the lesson, we talked about ups and downs. Well, now we're getting to the juicy stuff. If the Creator is love, and we need to attain that attribute from an egoistic state, in order to get from A to B, let's make this a different color. In order for us to get from A to B, we're going to study Kabbalah. This process is called changing our nature or our intention. Changing our nature or our intention. Does anybody want to change the world? Yes? How can you change the world? You change yourself. Okay? Because everybody wants to change the world, and we can see they're not very good at it. Okay? All the politicians, all the Greenpeace, all the environmentalists, everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to change themselves. But spirituality, or Kabbalah actually, is all about me changing, because if I change my nature, I can see reality just like the Creator does. And then the world will change. Why? Because my world will change. And that's actually the important thing, because in perception of reality, what did we study? We studied that everything we live, we're living at the back of our minds, right here. Nothing exists on the outside, but everything I live is here, at the back of my head. So the only logical way to change the way I live and everything around me, seemingly the way it exists, is for me to change. Right? If I change, the world will change. So if anybody wants to change the world, we need to start changing our nature. Otherwise, the world will not change. The world will always go towards like bad to worse. Okay? Because our ego is always going up. And if we don't change ourselves, the world will never get any better. as we will soon see in the year to come. Now then, so what do I have to do? Well, if I have to work against my nature, I'm obviously going to have a bit of a struggle. However, this struggle is not a really bad, big deal. Why? Because I have an environment. An environment. Okay. Okay, now tell me you got friends. Okay, so you guys have friends, right? Yes? Okay. Good. Okay, we got good. Okay, and even if you haven't, don't panic because we're around. Okay, now you got us. It doesn't sound like too bad to me.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty good friends.
Yeah. Okay, so
Nice
you guys
guys.
got us at least. Okay, at least. But what happens with an environment is if you have friends around you that can help you out, friends, and if you have a guide or a teacher, and if you have like books that we can learn from, okay, Shmuel, thank you. All right, so if we have a special environment where I have friends, I have a person who teaches me, and I have books to learn from, changing my nature doesn't become such a big deal. Why? Because I got friends who'll help me out. In life, do you guys have challenges? Right? Does anyone go to the gym? Nobody? Okay, so you go to the gym, right? So you go to the gym, right? So what do you see there? You see other people working out. And all of a sudden you get motivated. Right? Because, you know, because normally who wants to go to the gym? Give me a bucket of ice cream, we'll sit down and eat, right? But you go to the gym, you didn't want to work out, but all of a sudden you saw people working out and everybody's like, you know, pumping, looking good, feeling good. And then you think, oh, you know, I should work out as well. This is how it works, okay? Because I see people doing it and all of a sudden I want to do something that I didn't want to do before. That's called an environment. Now, even difficult things in life, like, you know, moving yourself and going to the gym, can now become fun if you have a gym buddy, right? Anybody did scuba diving? Right? And scuba divers have a diving buddy. So if you go with a few friends together, carrying all the equipment, you know, going down and getting dressed and all that, on your own, it can be a little boring. But if you have friends, you can make things fun. And this is the whole thing about spirituality as well. And this is the same thing with our lives here as well. The way to actually have a happy and fulfilled life is not about what I get done. It's where I get it done, with who I get it done. Our life depends on the environment, 100%. We just might not be able to feel it right now. But everything we do in life, it includes people around us. You know, the guy at the supermarket, I don't know, my boss, I don't know, everything, the cab driver, the dry cleaners, everything, because I'm interacting with everything. And it takes one person to do something, you know, bad, and then all of a sudden my whole day goes bad. And it can take one person to do something good, and I can have a great day. Nevertheless, though, in life, as we progress, as we live, all the time, we have good times and we have bad times. Good times, bad times. Good times, bad times. This is how it is with life. And in spirituality, because we're going against our nature, we're also going to have some ups and downs. But these ups and downs are necessary. It's a necessity. We must have them in order to understand who we are. How can I understand what I am, who I am, if I don't reveal some kind of an emotion that will react to something that happened. And the best time is when actually I'm having a bad day. Because when you're having a bad day, you can really see your traits. When you're having a good day, you're feeling so good that it's like you're on cloud 9, you're like flying somewhere. But imagine those rough days you had. You were toiling in turmoil, you were like in so many thoughts and discernments about what you were going through in terms of your feelings. You had a much more fulfilled emotional state than the days when you were having a good days. Just think about it, and I'm sure you will agree with me. Because when you feel good, you just feel good and that's it. But when you're feeling bad, you're like in a struggle, in this upset mode. All of a sudden you got 1,001 things going around in your head. And that's actually a great thing. Because that's really that's the time when the best of you comes out. Hard to believe, huh? Now then, we're going to have ups and downs. In short, I'm just going to put it in a nutshell in 30 seconds and we'll answer a few questions in a few minutes. In short, in spirituality, we're going to have ups and downs. We are not going to want to do it as we progress because we're changing our nature and we're working against our nature. However, if I use the environment correctly, smartly, I can make my journey really fun with the friends around me. And I can make this happen in a good way, and we can all get spiritual and come to the purpose of life and free ourselves from this dramatic theater that we are in. That's the topic of the lesson. Any questions, mate?
We've got a few here. Enoch from Tanzania. I understand we can only change our nature in the spiritual realm, but how can we change our slavery nature? To eat, we must kill. We don't choose when or where we are born. How can we change that in the spiritual realm?
We don't need to. In fact, you'll be happy to know that you don't have to change anything about your corporeal life except your environment. A lot of us want to change our destiny. We can't. How can I? But I can change my environment. If I change my environment, I can make my destiny happier. Now that's a good choice.
Now, Steve is asking, what do you think about the idea that to create from 0, we get +1 and -1, etc.?
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened in the worlds. The Creator created perfection and then brought it down from -1 to -2 to -infinity, and that's where we're at, -infinity right now.
Carmen from Romania asks, why does the Creator need glory?
The Creator doesn't. He wants to give His glory to us. That's His glory. It's like you have kids, right? And he becomes, let's say you have a son, and your son becomes this, I don't know, this pinnacle of human development. And then you say, that's my boy. That's kind of like that. It's like your glory is the Creator's glory. But it's not for you. You got to understand, it's for your son or your daughter that you did this for. All right, so it's not in an egoistic way like they say it in this world. Yeah.
Remigius from Nigeria, what will happen to the soul that fails to reach the end of correction before it departs the physical world?
Well, that's how about we leave that for the last lesson? We leave that down the track. Let's end this lesson with a positive note. Give me a good question, dude.
Let's see here. So, I got a really good one here. What is altruism in Kabbalah?
Altruism in Kabbalah is actually attaining that character, that personality, that trait of love, where I love somebody without expecting anything in return from that somebody.
Simone is asking, if we give spiritually to people who do not value our gift, must we still offer it?
No, this is something we do only in the group. Okay, environment means, that's a good question. Shmuel, thank you. Environment means the group. Okay, why? Why? I'll tell you why. Because if I go out to the world out there with people who don't want to get spiritual, who are not on the same wavelength, who are not in the same state of mind, then I'm going to have a problem. In your corporeal life, you do exactly how you did before Kabbalah. We're only talking about working with the friends in the group because we have a same idea. We have a same ideal. We have the same ideal. We have the same mentality. Go on quickly.
Jose says, what is the next step? How do I know I'm receiving to receive?
Oh, that we'll get to. That we'll get to.
Carmen is asking, how can we kill the ego?
We'll work on the methodology. Towards in the third semester, we'll get to the practical stuff. Now let's just talk about what we're going to go through. How we're going to deal with it, we're going to go in the later lessons as well. Now just the only thing we need to understand right now is this. When we're working against our nature, we're going to have these ups and downs, which actually mean the lack of desire to move forward in spirituality. A down means I don't have the desire to go forward. All right? That's a down day. Mm-hmm.
Now, Steve says, do we end up with both the will to receive for self, the ego, and the will to receive in order to bestow?
Yes.
At the same time.
At the same time. But the will to bestow is what's controlling it now. Right now, our ego is controlling it. In spirituality, we make sure that spirituality, the bestowing act, the trait of bestowal is controlling our will to receive.
Lenny says, can we really change our nature?
You bet, yeah.
And Claire says, what did you mean about things going from bad to worse, as we will see in the year to come?
Well, I just look at history and look forward. We look at history and then we see, look, humanity on the one hand, we see a lot of technological developments and everything. It's like great things are happening in humanity. But if you look at the level of happiness in humanity, it's always going down. Okay, so although we're coming up with beautiful things in life, in technology, innovation, and all this kind of stuff, the amount of happy people are less. Our happiness is less. Okay, and because we are desired to be happy, that's a bad thing for us. Okay, it's a bad thing because that's what's going bad to worse. And obviously, also the economy is not going so well. We'll have more unemployment in the future. So these things are not going to turn out for the better. And all these negative things are only for one reason, because the Creator wants to bring humanity to understand creating gadgets is not the purpose of our life. Attaining something much greater is the purpose of life. So we will be, by going through this globally, we'll have a lot of people asking about the meaning of life. So all these states that the whole world is going through is for us to ask this question: why are we living? Because we have everything now in life, but we're still not happy. And that's like weird, because we have everything. I mean, nobody's dying from starvation in the group, right? Is anybody starving? You guys all have internet, right? So you can't be starving, all right? So you guys have everything. You're living in a home. You've probably got jobs or work. You've got family. You're eating. You're fine. You have everything you need. But inside, you're like, well, it's like I have nothing. And it's this weird feeling that we're going through in this 21st century, that you can have everything in corporeality and still feel like you've got nothing.
Something's missing.
It's not just something, it's like something huge missing. And it's these two opposite things, these two distinctive ends once again. On the one hand, I have everything. On the other hand, I feel like I've got nothing. So from two opposite discernments, we come to a question: why? Yeah.
Meta from Romania, the evolution can be done. This evolution can be done only consistent, or can it be realized in an intuitive way?
No, nothing intuitive, guys. We have to study. Just like I cannot intuitively become a doctor. Okay, let's say I'm going to become an intuitive doctor tomorrow. Will you guys please give me money so I can operate on you? I don't think you're going to do that, right? No. Okay, so we have to work, study, take example from this world. Babies don't grow in a day, and they definitely don't grow intuitively. We teach them, we send them to school, we make sure they know everything about life. Nobody sends their kids out to the park and says, okay, go and figure out life intuitively. Go on. I mean, that's just not going to happen. Right.
Claire says, will Kabbalistic study help us impact how we engage with people on a non-spiritual path?
Yes, absolutely. You will understand human nature. You will understand exactly who you're dealing with when you meet people. Kabbalah is great. Even, just it gets our heads around understanding this world.
Jose says, do we need intention during these classes?
It would be great, but intention will come over time even if you don't, so don't panic.
And Ulf says, have you reached the higher realms of Kabbalah? And if so, how does it feel?
It feels just like this.
And let's see, one last question from Claire. What you're describing, that unconditional love, can that really exist between people?
It will. It will. We will live, we'll go through these together. You'll see that this is very doable. You'll see that you'll feel things that you didn't feel before. You just have to understand, we all have to understand, that life takes patience. It takes time, and we need to be patient, just like kids don't grow up overnight. But I promise you, people who study Kabbalah will get these sensations every here and then, because that's what the study brings to us. Although it won't be permanent inside of us until we have true attainment, but you will go through discernments, you will go through sensations and feelings that you will feel like there is something between us and it's good.
And that was our last question.
Lovely. I am so sorry we're 8 minutes overdue, but we'd like to, make sure everybody's happy. So we will love you and leave you as usual until next Tuesday. All right, so do your best. Go over the lessons if you can. Do a bit of reading. Think about these things in your spare time. Okay, you can do that by having fun over a glass of wine, tea or coffee, so you can contemplate what we studied and get into the nitty-gritty. We love you. Take care. All the best. See you next Tuesday.